be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
In this get-together, we'll see why a low-carb diet isn't for everyone. The Bruce Lee analogy is very much like dieting. Sure, he was probably talking about martial arts, but the same can be true for diets. I've done a few videos on how a low-carb diet is great for reversing most health issues. But what if that isn't your goal? What if you don't even have a goal or know what goal to have? We're going to cover this and more, like how to shape-shift your diet based on your circumstances and day. May Allah reward you for being curious. Let's tie our camel. You've probably heard the saying, when in Rome, eat halal, or something like that. Meaning that no matter where you find yourself or your situation, make sure your meals stay within the guardrails of your goals, not necessarily your specific diet. For example, let's say you're following a diet in which you're trying to retain muscle and lose fat. Let's say a high protein, low carb diet, but your family's coming to town and you don't want them to disown you or beat you for not having rice or bread. So what do? Of course, you serve rice, bread, and whatever else they like, but you also have to consider that you don't want to avoid those foods because you might worry them into thinking you've become some weirdo or something. So what you can do is count your calories for this one meal. Sure, you're not doing low carb, but you're not creating an awkward situation either, which could stress you out, in which case you may end up eating that stuff anyway and binging. And that's, So knowing what lies ahead, you could get your macro calorie app out and see how much rice or whatever you can eat and just stay within those limits. If they insist you eat more, just find an excuse to get up and go to the kitchen or something. Maybe distract them with some tea or dessert. This also works whenever you're out and about and find yourself unprepared. Life happens. But just like our dean, we can have boundaries where we can still enjoy ourselves without harming ourselves. Again, just open your app of choice, such as Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, and do the math. No harm, no foul. The point is to stick to your goals, which may not always be your specific diet. Shape-shifting, pun intended. So what are your goals? The reasons for following a particular diet usually fall within 4 categories. I've come up with yet another acronym for these categories, HNIC. Now, if you're from my generation, HNIC might bring a different meaning to mind, but it's not that. It stands for health, necessity, intention, and culture. I'll be doing a video on HNIC soon so that you have something to lean on when you find yourself in a dietary dilemma. Let's go over some reasons for following a diet. See if any apply to you or spark ideas for setting new goals. Some reasons for following a particular diet is wanting to become as unhealthy and as miserable as possible. So you follow the SAD diet, also known as the standard American diet. Reverse one or more health issues like hypertension, high blood pressure, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, or even cancer. Lose weight regardless of what type of weight you're losing. Change body composition, such as retaining muscle and losing body fat. Gain muscle and get stronger, getting as strong and buff as possible. Or maybe you're trying to maximize endurance in case your next Uber delivery is across town and you don't want to drive your car. Because you're trying to save the planet. Leave a comment below to let me know what I missed. Oh, or maybe you have food allergies and need to follow a very restrictive diet. You don't have to look far to know what you want or need to do. Even if you're healthy, meaning you've had your fasting insulin test and all the other blood tests and they're normal, you'll still want to follow a certain diet primarily. Because if you're mostly eating whatever you want through processed food, it's only a matter of time before the tables turn. Unless you lift weights, monitor your calories, have great genetics, are under 30, take TRT, and are on a cycle. If not, and you're still fit and lean, then know that you're probably a unicorn. For the rest of us, we need to follow a diet to be happy and healthy. Find your goal, then find at least 2 diets that match that goal. For example, my goal was to reverse my prediabetes. Now that I've done that, my goal is to gain muscle and lose fat. So I'm eating a lot of protein, some fat, and higher carbs. I also count calories if I find myself in a situation where I can't control my macros very well. This is in contrast to the low carb diet I followed for my prediabetes, where I lost a lot of fat, but also a lot of muscle. Hit me up on the subscribe button where you can catch my next video on HNIC. We'll go more in depth on the reasons for following a diet, what those diets are, and a game plan for success. Be sure to share, like, and all the things before you click away. May Allah reward you for being curious. Keep tying your camel. Assalamu alaikum.